LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn. Many of us as sales professionals, we have this love-hate relationship with LinkedIn. The love part is that we want to use the platform. We want to generate more leads. The hate part is that we just don't know how to, or we complain and say it doesn't work. Well, after today, I don't want to hear it anymore because we're giving you the Mr. LinkedIn. Daniel Disney is going to share with you some of his social selling strategies that help you to turn your leads into actual sales and not just marketing tactics. You're going to love this. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast here on TSC TV on YouTube. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, I'm interviewing the one and only Daniel Disney. Now, this dude is like killing it on LinkedIn. He is a social selling fiend, and he does an amazing job of just like producing content, not only that's going to entertain, but also educate sellers. He's built a brand, he's built an organization, he does a lot of training, and I highly recommend him if you're looking for someone to get some help or some insights on social selling strategies from. It's Daniel. He just released a new book, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. And you're going to see some of his insights when he shares those points with us today. What you can do, not just marketing fluff, not just marketing insights, but actually sales principles that you can implement right now to see the results to generate the leads that you desire. I love it. You're going to enjoy it, and I want you to write at least 2 things down you can apply. Let's go ahead and jump into the episode. Daniel, welcome to the show, man.
Donald, thank you for having me. Super excited to talk with you today.
Well, same here, man. I'm looking forward to picking your brain and get some insights from you because I know you bring tons of wisdom to the table. So I'm stoked about that. And before we dive into all of it, I know you just recently had a book launch, and I want you to if you don't mind, saying something about that book. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's my second book. It's called The Ultimate LinkedIn Sales Guide. It's published by Wiley. It's just come out on digital Kindle copy, and the hardback copy comes out in a couple of weeks. But I wanted to put together kind of the most up-to-date, comprehensive guide on LinkedIn for salespeople, for sales teams, for businesses that want to really get the most out of LinkedIn. The big thing about the book and the big thing about me is I come at it from a sales background, not a marketing
Mm-hmm.
background. So it's not just about generating fluffy likes and comments and leads and brand awareness, but actually high quality leads that convert into opportunities and actually turn into revenue.
That's where it's at, man. I agree with you because a lot of times when you look at some of those LinkedIn strategies, it's like the salesperson need to. I'm a big believer. You still need to have some elements of marketing there, but I just sometimes it's like, well, I want to be able to sell eventually. I don't want to just create a blog post and then hopefully people come back to the website and then hopefully they'll sign up for something.
Well,
So
it's
good,
easy
man.
to generate leads on LinkedIn. You can play the game. You can, create viral content, grow your audience, grow your brand. But you can end up with a ton of leads that just aren't good. They're not from your target
Hmm.
customer. They're not likely to convert. And ultimately, it's a waste of time. And look, you're absolutely right, Donald. There is a lot of marketing in social selling, in using LinkedIn. But I think you need to have that sort of sales, sort of hunter experience as well, where at the end of the day, you're
Yes.
measured on sales, not on leads.
Oh, dude, so right. So true. Well, I want to give an opportunity for our audience to learn some of that today, to get some of those insights from you because you're the king when it comes towards social selling here. So, specifically, let's start off. What are people doing wrong right now? Let's just get that out of the way so that we can get into some of those things that are right.
Yeah, okay. Three things, Donald, that are top of the mind when it comes to what people are doing wrong. Number one,
Sure.
their profiles are weak.
Mm.
Most companies that I go in and train, I'd say 80% at least of the team, if not more, their profiles are not optimized. They're not customer focused. They're basically poorly written CVs for the individual that aren't going to help sell in any way. So that's number one. Number two, they're not sharing good content. They're just resharing company blogs, not adding any contribution, not creating their own content. So the content's weak. And then number three is they're sending bad messages. They're sending terribly written sales pitch, spammy messages en masse in high quantity in the hope that something comes back. So yeah, bad profile, bad content, bad messaging.
So if I just throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, something will stick. That philosophy doesn't work too well.
No, no, it doesn't. It doesn't in any part of sales, Donald. It doesn't.
Yeah,
It doesn't really work with the phone anymore. It doesn't work with email. Sales has changed, and LinkedIn's
yeah.
just the same.
Why do you say that it changed? What specifically would you say changed about it that caused some of these things, these old practices to be so ineffective?
I guess part of it is the way we buy has changed, and the information that the buyer now has, sort of prior to actually making a purchase, has changed significantly. I mean, you rewind 15, 20, 30 years, decision makers didn't have access to the internet. They didn't have access to all the information that they do now. Social media, reviews, Google, all these things didn't exist. And so they were a lot more at the mercy of the salesperson to provide that information. But now that they have that, their standards, what they need, has gone up significantly from what they require from a salesperson. And so that whole pressure sales environment doesn't work now. It's, you could say in some instances the buyer kind of sits a bit higher, which it shouldn't. Reality is it should be an equal playing field, but salespeople need to step up where they would normally have been either potentially in their head above the prospect or customer or in their head below. They need to step up, be at that same level and earn that conversation. And you do
Hmm.
that by, again, giving value, earning credibility, building trust, and all of that stuff just requires more effort than I think it used to.
Yeah. You mentioned also that profiles are, more of like a CV. Talk about that. What's one thing they could change real quick when it comes towards their profile?
Easiest change is to make it customer focused. Now, it's an easy mistake, by the way. This isn't like a criticism. LinkedIn is built
Sure.
like a CV, and a lot of salespeople use it to get a job, and it is great for getting a job. If you want a job, write it as a CV. If you want customers, then make it customer focused, because your customers don't want to know how great at sales you are. They don't want to know how many times you've hit your target, your quota, how many times you're in President's Club. All that stuff is just going to scare them away. What you want to do is talk about them. Who do you
Mm.
help? What type of people do you help? How do you help them? What do you help your customers achieve? How do you help them do that? What is it that you offer, and then how can they get in touch with you? Make it fully focused on them. So if you want to sell through LinkedIn, if you want customers, then your profile needs to be designed for them.
Optimize for the customer. Well, let's go down into how can we now generate leads from LinkedIn, sales leads, like you said. What are some of the things that we can do as a seller? I want to get some of those high quality, potent, really good prospects. And I want to maximize what I think social selling is. Not just going out and just pitching everybody that exists, but what are some of those things, if you walk me through it? I'm new on your team and I'm starting today. And what would you do to help me to start generating those type of leads?
Yeah, so Donald, there's first remember there are two types of leads that you can generate on LinkedIn: inbound and outbound. So there are
Sure.
activities you do that will have people come to you, but there are also things you can do that will create opportunities for you to go to them. So what kind of connects them both? The two things you kind of need to start with. Number one is grow your audience with the right people. So you
Mm.
want to start connecting with relevant prospects, decision makers, and other people sort of wider in the industry on a regular basis, ideally daily, maybe 10 to 20 new connections every day, so that you're filling your audience up. So when you do start sharing content, it's reaching more people, and that's going to help you generate more inbound and outbound opportunities. The other thing you need to do is start sharing relevant, value giving content to your audience, to your growing network. Thought leadership pieces, sharing your stories, your journey, your knowledge, your experiences, but as much as possible giving value to them. Not pitching your product, not talking about how great your company is, but sharing things that are relevant to them: insights, knowledge, tips, tactics. Bring in experts, whatever it may be. Give value to your audience. What you end up with is a growing audience of the right people, and your voice, your personal brand, starting to give value on a consistent basis. That will create two things. If you do it right and consistently, you will get inbound leads coming from the right people where they're getting the right value, but you're also going to get engagement on your content. So you might
Mm.
get a target prospect click like or write a comment on your post. They might not message you with an inbound lead, but that doesn't mean you can't message them. And you can't send them a message saying, Donald, thank you so much for liking my post today, and then start talking to them. The amount of opportunities salespeople can generate by doing that, which is outbound selling, are equal to what you can generate from inbound. So that's two things you can do to start generating both of those.
So let's go back to these. These are fun. I think there is a I've seen, and I'm speaking for myself now. In the past, I've had this fear that I didn't have anything of worth. Yeah, and we have 1,500 episodes of worth to say when it comes to personal stuff on LinkedIn, because I'm like, oh well, that story isn't going to be good, or that story, this principle doesn't make sense, or maybe they're not gonna. This is too basic, or whatnot. Do you find that sellers fall in that same gap as well, or is that just like a unique thing to Donald, where it just or thinking, well, I don't know if I have something of marketing value to share?
Yeah, no, we all. I was there the same, Donald. When I started using LinkedIn, I thought, what am I going to say? What am I going to write? I don't have any good stories to bring to the table. And I think it's essentially part imposter syndrome that we all kind of suffer from. Because if you're a salesperson, you don't have that knowledge, experience, or confidence in marketing. So doing marketing things like creating content is really bizarre. But the reality is, and I haven't met anyone who was the exception to this rule. Everyone has value to bring to LinkedIn. Everyone has stories to tell. And actually, I think the biggest misconception is you need to be a expert to be successful on LinkedIn, which you don't. Some of the biggest personal brands that are being built now are by SDRs, sales development reps
Right?
that have no experience, no knowledge, but all they're doing is they're being authentic, they're sharing their journey, they're telling people what they're doing that's working, they're telling people what they're doing that's not working, they're asking for help, all these things. They're just being themselves, they're being a human being, and that's what works. So if there's anyone watching this right now, listening to this, that is a bit nervous about posting content, take that back. Just be you and start sharing your journey, because people buy from people, and that's the beauty of a personal brand.
You produce amazing content and funny stuff, and it grabs our attention. And you produce content in which you teach and you provide value, and I love them. That's why I respect you and follow you and so forth. Let's say someone is. Do you have any stories about one of the pieces of content that you create, which are many, but a piece of content that you created that was able to resonate with someone, and someone was able to connect to you back, or say, Daniel, thank you for sharing that, or something that really helped you? Anything come top of mind?
Not from an individual perspective. I think I've been sharing content
I
daily
know, right?
for many years now, and I do get a lovely amount of messages coming from people, and all different types of messages. Sometimes from people that say, Dan was having a really tough day, but that meme that you shared on the daily sales really made me smile, gave me the energy to kind of get through to the end of the day, which is nice. And then I get people saying, Dan, I've just started in sales and wanted to use LinkedIn. Been following your posts, watched a few of your videos, and it's helped me create a few opportunities. So the thing I've always tried to do, Donald, and I will continue to try to do, is to give as much value in my content as possible. So I try to share tips, knowledge, stories. I try to share things that are working for me right now, things that aren't working. I try to give as much value, and it is nice, obviously, knowing that it does give value, but I don't, that's kind of not something I worry about too much. I'm so focused on the giving value that it's not that I sort of desire the outcome. So it kind of is a pleasant surprise when people do get in touch, and it's very, very nice to know it's making some impact.
Make the focus on the lead indicator. Do the things that the activities, and make sure those activities are worthwhile and meaningful. And as a natural byproduct, if you're doing value on the front end, the results come on the back.
To give mentality. Don't
Yeah,
give to get something back, give to give. And
yeah,
that's where authenticity comes from. People know. I know. I'm sure, Donald, you know. We would go through
oh
LinkedIn.
yeah,
You know when people are sharing posts because they want the likes, they want the comments, or they want the leads.
yeah.
We see through it, and but we also do see the posts where we think, actually, yeah, okay, that was a good post. That connected with me. I want to engage in that. I want to talk to that person. It is very transparent. So yes, give to give, not to get.
And everything you're sharing, Daniel, I think one piece about this is that it doesn't require it doesn't require one endless hours, and it also doesn't require you to do something that's going to be arduous. But why do most people don't take advantage of doing strategies or things like this? Is it because they don't know, or they just don't? They think they tell themselves it's too hard.
Yeah, I think it'd be two things. One, they don't know. And, when you don't know something, change and learning something new is scary. And honestly, Donald, I can give you real experience of this that I had just a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, I don't
Please,
know.
yes, tell us.
So I've been using LinkedIn for years now, consider myself
Yeah.
pretty good at it. Clubhouse has now burst on the scene, the
Ah,
new
yes.
audio-based social media network. And honestly, my initial reactions were like what most people feel about LinkedIn when they're new to it, which is, oh, I don't need to use it. My customers aren't on there. Oh, it's rubbish. I came up with so many excuses, and I had to coach myself into thinking, okay, Dan, let's look past that. Let's get on there. Let's practice. Let's learn. Let's absorb, and all those sort of things. So I kind of got to experience what it was like for me as well when I first saw LinkedIn 8, 9 years ago. With new networks now. So I think that's what happens. We see new things. We're resistant to change. We don't want to start at the bottom. It's not
Yeah.
not you could be an amazing cold caller. You know picking up that phone, you know to write emails, but you go on LinkedIn, you're right at the bottom again. Well, that was what I felt like going on Clubhouse. I come on LinkedIn and I know it pretty well. I go onto Clubhouse and I'm the newbie. I've got no followers. I've got no brand. No one wants to talk to me. And it's a very humbling experience. And yeah, I think the problem a lot of salespeople and sales teams have with LinkedIn is being at that start line. And that's why training, coaching, support can kind of help them, and confidence building, just opening
Yeah.
their eyes to see that it's not as scary as you may think it is.
Dude, you're so right on that. And Clubhouse, I've been on it, and I really haven't. It's kind of like having a nice a car, and you just leave it in a garage. I haven't ripped it open yet, too much, but I've been on there a little bit. I'm a part of a couple groups, and one of my friends just reached out. He said, "You want to do a Clubhouse together?" And and it's just, I know psychologically what it comes back down to. I say, man, the timing, but I know deep down it's going back to this principle. Like, crap, I have to start from the bottom and learn the
Clubhouse
whole
is an
thing,
interesting one because it does have
isn't it?
opportunities, and don't get me wrong, there will be a level of that fear of the unknown, but I
Yeah.
will admit it is very time consuming. And that
Yes.
is a real factor. Like, we can't hide from that. You need to give at least 30 minutes to an hour minimum. Some of these rooms go on for 2, 3 hours, which
Bro.
is for the ROI is an
Yeah.
insane like there isn't enough coming back to really justify that. So yes, I think
Yeah.
Clubhouse, but it's new, it's early, it's growing. So I think there will be more opportunities, but that is a fair part of it.
So true, man. One last piece I want to focus on before, as we get ready to come to the tail end here. We want to talk about the ideas now of reaching out. You mentioned like that concept, some of those things that we could do, create good content and so forth. But now, what do I say? And I saw you had a post the other day. I love your post. I think it was like something like I can't remember the meme, but basically it was just the Friends meme, and it had Joey, and it was like, "This is how you work on LinkedIn" or whatever, and it was just kind of like the
Yeah.
salesperson just send the pitch concept. When do you know it's the right time to offer an invitation or to try to get that appointment from it without sounding like typical the LinkedIn spammers I call them?
Do you know what the biggest key, Don, or biggest tip I can give with LinkedIn messaging? It's hyper personalization. And the reason I say hyper personalization is it's not enough to just make sure their name's in there. It's not enough
Yeah.
to just mention their company. You need to dig deeper. If you want to get more responses from messages on LinkedIn, you need to really make it about them. And that means properly reading through their profile. That means going into their activity feed and reading through their recent activity, learning about them, and finding something really relevant that you can put in that message. Hyper personalization is one thing. The other thing is creativity. So on
Mm.
LinkedIn, you can send a text based written message, an audio voice note message, or a short video message. So be creative and utilize those. In my inbox, hundreds of written messages every day. I
Yeah.
can't even remember the last audio or video. I get a couple of audio. I can't remember the last video message I've had on LinkedIn.
Bro, you're so right. You're so right. I love videos, man. I'm a big fan of it, and I think you're right on that. I think there's a go back to the intrepidation. When I teach the sellers I work with about, you just turning a camera around, just doing a little video for themselves. It's kind of like, well, I don't look good on camera. It's not, all those type of excuses that we might get. But it's gold because in order to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And it's one of those strategies that every time my BDRs and my team, when they do it, it's amazing. When I ask the prospects, like, why did you take the appointment? They're like, because how could I turn this down? He sent me a video. He thought about me. So it's like, all right, cool. Keep on doing it, kid. So,
I love that challenge though of oh, I don't look good on camera. What did you think you looked like when you were doing face to face selling? I mean, it's no different. I don't get me wrong. It does. I hated recording video. The first, God knows how many videos I was recording. It was uncomfortable, weird. I hated it as well. So I get it.
First couple hundred for me.
Yeah. It was a crazy process. But so was my first cold call. So were my
Yeah.
first face-to-face meetings. You learn, you push through, you embrace it. But you're right, Donald. They're working because not many people are getting them. Because it shows that you actually want to speak to them. And by the way, don't do spammy video messages either. Don't record generic ones that you then spam out to everyone.
Oh,
You do need to personalize it. I would rather send less personalized, high quality videos than send lots of non personalized because I know what I'm going to get more results from.
oh, so true on that, man. I just amen everything you just shared on it, and I think the big pieces for me that I pulled from that is, and I've seen it, is that sellers, we want to find the point of, or the means of the easiest means possible to get from point A to point B. And unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be amazing if you just try to find the cheapest, easiest way. Sometimes you got to pay the dollar, which is putting that time in, or in your case, pay the pound, and putting the time in. And when you put the time in, amazing things come from it.
Yeah, and I
Love it.
think that message needs to go beyond the salespeople, but to the sales leaders. It
Yeah.
scares me the amount of sales leaders when we're talking about training and stuff like that, and they say, okay, but how can we scale this? How can we really ramp
Yeah.
this up so that we can do more of it? And you've got to be so careful of that balance because if you tip too much into scale, you'll lose personalization and then you'll lose results. And I think sales leaders need to kind of open their eyes a bit. Gone are the days where making 200 plus cold calls a day was the best way to hit target now. Sales has changed, buying has changed, the way we communicate around the world has changed. And sales leaders need to really learn, understand that, and then make sure they adapt their strategy and cadences to kind of include that. It is less about volume now and a lot more about quality, especially as automation continues to rise. The
Yeah.
amount of automated messages and automated sales cadences being pushed out there now, prospects and customers are getting so bored and seeing right through what is automated and what is real. So salespeople really do need to be more advanced than some of these bots.
And the funny thing with that too is that we can start predicting their cadences. Do you remember back in the days when when people knew the different clothes that salespeople do, like the Ben Franklin clothes, or he's going to use this clothes on me, he's going to
Yeah,
try to Sandler me here, he's going to use the whatever the snap selling process here, so the buyers could figure that out. So it doesn't take too long. And here's the crazy part: I don't think what people realize, the same playbook that you have, generally that CEO or that CFO or that director, they're having their team run that same play as well. So they know when you're getting to that breakup email and when they're going to start, ignoring you. And then also when the automated ones at the bottom, we know that you change the term instead of saying, unsubscribe. They know that Google annoyed by that, so that you change it to, if you want to hear a different type of content or whatever cutesy thing they try to put at the end. We already know when it's automated, so it can't really hide that too much now, guys.
no, there really is nowhere to hide. And again, I can't stress enough. This starts at the top. If
Yeah.
you are a sales leader, you need to be implementing this. Don't This isn't pressure on your sales team whilst everyone is accountable for their own actions. As sales leaders, you need to lead. You need to lead and make this change yourself. So again, any sales leaders watching and listening to this, don't do what worked 10 years ago. Do what works now.
Dan, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I appreciate you bringing so much wisdom to us, and I imagine that's probably like the golden thing we can close there with for the sales leaders to recognize and to change. If folks want to get in touch with you, whether to learn about your services, if you offer an education to their team, or just simply to get a hold of your book, or just to connect with you, what do you recommend they go? What's the best way to connect with you?
Funnily enough, LinkedIn is probably the best place, Donald. So Daniel Disney on LinkedIn, you'll see me with the red T-shirt. But you can also check out danieldisney.online, which is my website and has a ton of content as well.
Yeah. Amazing brand, by the way. Love it, man. Thank you, Daniel. If you didn't write down at least 2 things that you can apply from this episode, you weren't listening. And I recommend you go ahead and connect with Daniel and listen to this episode again if you didn't. Even if you did, I highly recommend you connect with him. Check out his book. You can find it in the information below in the show notes, as well as you can find it on his website, as well as connecting with him via LinkedIn. We have all that information down below. And speaking about connecting, folks, if you haven't done so, if you don't have a LinkedIn strategy to daily connect with your prospects, I recommend you go ahead and do so. Let's make that change, man. You have a lot of people you can connect with. Reach out to them, let them know that you can, you would like to be connect with their in their network, and start growing your pool. 5 to 10 people a day, it would make a world of difference. I promise you, in like a month or two. I want you also to take advantage of our sponsors. They're giving some amazing gifts away. They're giving some offers, which I highly recommend, and you don't have to go and pay arm and a leg for it. Check it out. Subscribe. Take advantage of their offers right now, please. As always, you know I share stuff like this because I want to help you. I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up at the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.